She first noticed the woman on a Monday morning, standing across the street, silent, watching. At first it felt harmless, just another adult waiting near the school gates, while students rushed past with backpacks, bouncing against their shoulders. But something about the woman felt wrong. She never checked her phone, never drank coffee, never looked away. She only stared. 12-year-old Amara. Bennett slowed her steps as she crossed the street toward Jefferson Academy. Cold wind brushed against her face while the sound of students, laughing, echoed around the parking lot. Normally, she kept her headphones on during the walk to school, shutting out the world around her. But that morning, she noticed the woman immediately. Dark sunglasses, gray coat, gray sedan parked beside the sidewalk. Watching. Amara looked away quickly and hurried through the front gates. By lunchtime, she had almost forgotten about it. Almost. But when school ended that afternoon, the sedan was still there. Same spot, same woman, still watching. A strange feeling settled deep in Amara's stomach as she walked home alone. She kept telling herself it was nothing. Adults waited outside schools every day. Maybe the woman had a child inside Jefferson Academy. Still, something didn't feel right. That night, Amara sat behind the counter of her grandmother's bookstore near the train station while rain tapped softly against the windows. The tiny shop smelled like old paper and coffee beans, warm and familiar in a town that rarely felt welcoming. Her grandmother, Lorraine Bennett, stacked books carefully while soft jazz played from a dusty radio in the corner. "You're quiet tonight," Lorraine noticed. Amara shrugged. "Just tired." It was easier than explaining the strange feeling crawling through her chest, because Amara already knew what it felt like to be watched. She had lived with those looks her entire life. Jefferson Academy sat in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the state, where old money lived behind tall iron gates and spotless lawns. The school advertised diversity in glossy brochures and smiling online photos, but Amara understood the truth early. Some teachers still stumbled over her name after years. Store owners followed her through aisles. Parents clutched purses tighter when she passed. And when expensive items disappeared at school, suspicious eyes somehow always drifted toward the black students first. Nobody said it directly. That was what made it worse. The racism in Jefferson wasn't loud. It whispered. It smiled politely. It made people feel unwelcome while pretending nothing was wrong. Amara had learned to survive by staying invisible. Keep your grades high. Don't argue. Don't draw attention. Ignore the stares. But by Tuesday morning, ignoring the woman became impossible. The gray sedan was back, parked directly across from the school entrance. The woman sat motionless behind the wheel, staring toward the gates as students entered the building. Amara's heartbeat quickened. When she looked toward the car, the woman slowly turned her head away. That single movement sent chills racing down Amara's spine. All day, she struggled to focus in class. Numbers blurred together on math worksheets. Words drifted off textbook pages. Every time footsteps passed outside the classroom door, her stomach tightened. Something was wrong. She could feel it. After school, Amara decided to take a different route home. Instead of walking down Maple Avenue, she cut behind a row of expensive homes lined with stone fences and trimmed hedges. The neighborhood felt strangely quiet, almost too quiet, except for the distant sound of tires rolling slowly across wet pavement. Then she heard it. The low hum of an engine behind her. Amara glanced over her shoulder. Gray sedan? Her breath caught instantly. The car moved slowly beside the curb, keeping pace with her. Not passing, not stopping, following. Fear spread through her chest. She tightened her grip on her backpack and forced herself not to run. Running would make it obvious she was afraid, and somehow deep down she knew the woman wanted that. Amara kept walking faster until the school building came back into view in the distance. The second she stepped closer to the crowded sidewalks near the main road, the sedan stopped, then slowly pulled away. That night, Amara barely slept. Every sound outside her bedroom window made her sit upright. Every passing set of headlights made her heart race. By Wednesday morning, dark circles had formed beneath her eyes, and the sedan was waiting again. Same place, same woman, watching. This time, Amara went straight to the school office. The receptionist barely glanced up from her computer. "There's a woman outside watching me," Amara explained quietly. The receptionist sighed as if she were interrupting something important. "A parent?" "I don't think so." A security guard eventually walked outside, looked up and down the street for less than 30 seconds, then returned. "No one suspicious out there," he said. Amara froze, because through the office window, she could still see the gray sedan parked across the street. The woman was right there, watching, but somehow, nobody else seemed willing to notice. That feeling stayed with Amara throughout the entire day. Invisible, dismissed, alone. Things only became worse by Thursday. During lunch break, she noticed two students staring at their phones while whispering nervously. One of them glanced toward Amara before quickly looking away. By the end of the afternoon, rumors had spread through nearly every hallway inside Jefferson Academy. Anonymous social media posts accused her family of stealing from local businesses. Another claimed her grandmother's bookstore was connected to criminal activity. There was no proof, no evidence, just lies. But in Jefferson, lies traveled fast when they targeted the right people. Students whispered when Amara walked past. Teachers became colder. One instructor even searched her backpack after a student reported a missing smartwatch. The watch was later discovered in another classroom. Nobody apologized. Nobody even acknowledged what had happened. Amara sat silently at her desk afterward while shame burned through her chest. Not because she had done something wrong, because she knew exactly why she had been singled out, and everyone else knew it too. That evening, business inside the bookstore slowed to almost nothing. Customers who normally visited every week avoided eye contact while passing the windows. Some crossed the street entirely. Others stared before continuing down the sidewalk. The rumors were spreading beyond school now. Lorraine noticed it immediately. "They're trying to isolate us," she whispered softly while locking the bookstore doors early. Amara looked up. "What do you mean?" For a brief second, fear flashed across Lorraine's face, but then she forced a smile. "It's nothing, baby." But it wasn't nothing. Amara knew that now. Saturday evening, heavy rain pounded against the bookstore windows while thunder rolled across town. The power flickered once, then again. Lorraine sent Amara downstairs to organize old boxes in the storage room while she balanced receipts upstairs. Dust filled the air as Amara pulled open cracked cardboard containers, stacked against the wall. Old newspapers, books, faded photographs. Then something slipped from between the pages of a damaged history textbook and landed at her feet. Amara picked it up slowly. It was an old photograph. The image showed Lorraine standing beside a younger white man outside Jefferson Academy nearly 30 years earlier. Behind them stood a crowd of angry protesters holding signs. Some faces in the crowd had been scratched out with black marker. Others circled in red ink. Amara's pulse quickened. Then she noticed the words written across the bottom in shaky handwriting. "They never forgave us." A chill rushed through her body. She carried the photograph upstairs. The second Lorraine saw it, all color drained from her face. For the first time in Amara's life, her grandmother looked terrified. "Where did you find that?" Lorraine whispered. "In the storage room." Lorraine stepped forward quickly. "Give it to me." But Amara held it tighter. "No." Silence filled the bookstore. Rain hammered against the windows while the old jazz radio crackled softly in the background. Finally, Lorraine lowered herself slowly into a chair and told the truth. Decades earlier, Jefferson Academy secretly rejected black students while publicly claiming to support equality. Applications disappeared. Scholarships mysteriously vanished. Families were pushed out quietly, while wealthy donors protected the school's reputation. Lorraine had helped expose the discrimination, alongside a powerful businessman named Charles Whitmore, one of the richest men in the country at the time. Together, they gathered evidence proving black families were being targeted and denied opportunities. The scandal nearly destroyed Jefferson Academy. Several powerful families lost money. Others lost political influence, and many blamed Lorraine for everything. "They threatened us for years," Lorraine admitted quietly. "People called late at night. Windows were broken. Customers disappeared." Amara listened silently. "Then Charles vanished from public life," Lorraine continued. "And eventually, people stopped talking about what happened." Amara looked back down at the photograph. Then one terrifying realization hit her. "The woman outside school?" Lorraine's expression hardened instantly. "She's connected somehow." Fear settled heavily between them. That night, Lorraine locked every door in the apartment above the bookstore. She checked the windows twice, then 3 times. But around midnight, Amara stepped quietly toward her bedroom curtain and looked outside. Her blood ran cold. The gray sedan sat directly across from the building. And this time, the woman wasn't inside the car. She stood beneath a streetlight staring directly toward Amara's bedroom window, still, silent, watching. Amara stumbled backward in fear. Lorraine immediately called the police. But when officers finally arrived nearly 40 minutes later, the sedan was gone. One officer glanced around lazily before shrugging. "Probably just someone parked outside," he muttered. Amara couldn't believe it. Even now, nobody wanted to take them seriously. The next morning, Lorraine insisted on driving Amara to school. Rain clouds covered the sky while tension filled the silence inside the car. Neither of them spoke much. But the second Jefferson Academy came into view, Amara noticed something wrong. Students crowded near the front entrance. Phones raised. Whispers spreading. Then Amara saw it. Spray painted across the brick wall beside the school. Doors were giant black letters. "You don't belong!" Beneath the message was a crude drawing of a little black girl with red X marks over the eyes. Amara's breathing stopped. Students stared openly now. Some looked uncomfortable. Others smirked. Teachers stood nearby pretending to organize students, while carefully avoiding eye contact. Nobody cleaned the wall. Nobody defended her. Nobody said a word. Humiliation crashed over Amara like a wave. She suddenly felt exposed, small, alone. And then she saw the woman, across the street, standing beside the gray sedan. No sunglasses this time. No pretending. Just staring directly at Amara with cold, emotionless eyes. In that moment, everything finally became clear. The rumors, the threats, the silence. This wasn't random hatred from one person. This was organized, deliberate. Someone wanted her family, terrified enough to disappear quietly. Just like years ago, Lorraine stepped out of the car protectively. But Amara suddenly remembered something. The folded paper hidden inside the photograph. She reached into her backpack with trembling hands and pulled it free. A phone number, one Lorraine had hidden for decades. Charles Whitmore's private number. The billionaire everyone believed had vanished forever. Amara stared at the numbers while fear and anger battled inside her chest. Then she pressed call. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. Finally, someone answered. An older man's voice, quiet, careful. Amara swallowed hard. "My grandmother is Lorraine Bennett," she whispered. Silence, complete silence. Then the voice changed instantly. What happened? Tears filled Amara's eyes as she looked toward. The hateful message painted across the school wall. "He said they never forgave you," she whispered shakily. "And now someone's watching us." Another long silence followed. Then the man spoke again. "Listen to me carefully," he said. His voice carried something cold beneath the calm. "Go home immediately. Stay with your grandmother. Do not speak to anyone else. I'm coming." The call ended. Lorraine stared at Amara in shock. "You reached him?" Amara nodded slowly. And for the first time in days, the woman across the street looked nervous. The next 24 hours changed Jefferson forever. Before sunrise the following morning, black SUVs lined the streets surrounding Jefferson Academy. Lawyers stepped out carrying briefcases. Private investigators entered the administration building. News vans crowded the sidewalks. Reporters pushed microphones toward stunned parents arriving at school. Then Charles Whitmore appeared publicly for the first time in nearly 20 years. Older now, gray-haired, but powerful enough to silence. An entire crowd the second he stepped from the vehicle. Cameras flashed wildly. Amara stood beside Lorraine while people stared in disbelief. And for the first time, Jefferson Academy looked afraid. The investigation moved quickly. Too quickly for the school to hide anything. Old documents surfaced. Emails, financial records, admissions files. Evidence proving black students had been unfairly rejected for years, while wealthy donors protected preferred families. Private messages exposed, organized. Intimidation campaigns. Targeting families who complained about discrimination. Even the woman in the gray sedan was identified. She had worked for a private security firm, hired unofficially by influential community members, desperate to stop the original scandal from resurfacing. They believed fear would keep Lorraine silent forever. Instead, they exposed themselves. Within weeks, Jefferson Academy's leadership resigned. Several teachers faced investigations. Community protests filled the streets. Families finally stepped forward, sharing stories buried for decades. One mother admitted her son had been repeatedly searched at school. While white students were ignored, another family revealed scholarship applications mysteriously disappearing. Former students described years of humiliation they had carried silently into adulthood. The truth spread far beyond Jefferson. National news channels covered the scandal daily. Politicians demanded accountability, but none of it erased what Amara experienced. The whispers still echoed in her memory. The suspicious looks, the hateful message painted across the wall, the terrifying feeling of standing alone while everyone pretended nothing was happening. Those scars remained because racism doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it hides behind expensive schools and polite conversations. Sometimes it lives inside systems designed to protect certain people while quietly crushing others. And sometimes the most painful part isn't the hatred itself. It's the silence surrounding it. The people who see it know it's wrong, but say nothing. Months later, workers finally painted over the hateful graffiti outside Jefferson Academy. But Amara still remembered exactly what it said. "You don't belong." The words stayed with her because deep down she realized something terrifying. Those messages weren't meant only for her. They were warnings aimed at anyone who challenged the system. Anyone who refused to stay quiet. Anyone brave enough to expose uncomfortable truths. One evening, long after the cameras disappeared, Amara sat beside Lorraine, outside the bookstore watching the sunset fade beyond the train tracks. The town felt quieter now, different, not healed, but changed. "You were brave," Lorraine said softly. Amara stared toward the horizon. "I was scared." Lorraine nodded slowly. The bravest people usually are. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Amara looked back toward Jefferson Academy, standing in the distance beyond the trees, a place that once made her feel invisible, small, powerless. But now she understood something important. Silence protects injustice. Fear protects injustice. And sometimes all it takes to expose the truth is one person refusing to look away. The frightening part is knowing how many stories like this never become headlines. How many children still walk into schools feeling unwanted? How many families stay silent because they fear retaliation? How many people convince themselves racism no longer exists simply because it hides behind smiles instead of slurs? Amara's story ended differently because she spoke up, because she noticed, because she refused to ignore what everyone else wanted hidden. But countless others are still waiting for someone to listen, still waiting for someone to believe them, still waiting for someone to stand beside them instead of looking away. And maybe that's the real question this story leaves behind. When injustice happens quietly right in front of us, will we pretend not to see it? Or will we finally have the courage to speak?